Aragami 2 is obviously the sequel to the 2016 game Aragami, both developed by Lensworks, and as promised in that review, which was some time back, hey, I've been busy. You can check that out, links will be in the description, shameless plug. Now, I can finally talk about how this game and how it takes a different turn from its predecessor in various ways. But before I get ahead of myself, I'll be reviewing the PlayStation 4 and 5 version, so let's get into it. Aragami 2 takes place, I believe, a century later after the first game, where this village composed of those similar to our main character dwells in this place called Kagura Village. Unfortunately, this empire known as the Akashi Empire is threatening the peace of Kagura Village, let alone all those who come from all over Rashomon Valley. So to stop the Akashi is where you pretty much come into play. It's your job to go on missions to disrupt and stop the tyrannical empire from expanding, eventually ending them. Aragami 2 looks awesome, way better than its first iteration. The cutscenes look nice, the kill animations are more brutal than its predecessor, and on top of that, the levels are more detailed, varied, and spacious from the level of verticality to how far the player can roam. It's definitely a welcome. Because in the first game, you were just placed in a small little section to work around. I mean, it's the same thing here, but at least here you have more of a variety to be creative in how you're going to approach situations. And while I'm still on the environment, yes, each of the levels look very beautiful and realized. However, it starts to lose its charm after the umpteenth time I keep saying it. See, one of the things about Aragami 2 that kind of sucks is that, yeah, you're going to keep seeing the same levels over and over again. You may have different objectives, but it's going to be the same level layout. Character models when it comes to the grunts that you kill off may seem a bit too copy and paste to a degree, but it serves its purpose of deducing what type of enemy and their behavior patterns one must be prepared for. What I do admire are the different styles of masks that are on the faces of the denizens of Rashomon Valley. It's like a perfect way to display their individuality while undoubtedly maintaining the fact of who and what these people are. Although it definitely reminded me of another game, sorta. The only drawback or criticism of Aragami 2 stems from this game when it handles a lot of things that are going on the screen at once. For the most part, it isn't a problem on the PS5 version, but it definitely is noticeable on the PS4 version. Proof of such can be seen within the NPC models when they are moving around in the background at a distance. It looks like they just go from walking to just moving like they're in the PowerPoint presentation. Overall, this game looks beautiful. The instant flair from which inspires this game is in full bloom. The customization and how you would want yourself to look adds more variety in regards to cosmetics. From a visual standpoint, this game does well. Aragami 2 almost feels like it could have been a different game altogether with the type of direction it goes. Think Monster Hunter, where the player occupies this hub area where he or she can buy costumes, character upgrades, weapons, items, and then when they're done, they can look up on this board to go on some sort of a mission. Once the mission is completed, they come back to this hub area and they do it all over again. To oversimplify this game's formula, that will be it within a nutshell. But really, it's not what the player does, but how they play that makes this game appealing. The first Aragami game was centered around stealth and using the shadows to your benefit. If you was caught, one attack from an enemy meant instant death for you. But unlike the first game that was more focused on a slow and methodical approach, this second outing retained some of the elements but made things a little bit more streamlined, fast-paced, and almost action-oriented. For example, you can now swing your sword when you want to, and now you can actually jump without having to rely on your shadow powers. Then to go a step further, you can actually double jump. Now if you haven't played the first title, you will know how much of a quality of life improvement this makes to the gameplay. Gone are the days where the main character had to rely solely on the shadow powers to do something physically simple. Other changes that was added to make this game different is the fact that even though stealth will be the best, you don't necessarily have to play it that way. You see, the player along with your enemies now actually have health bars, meaning that one hit won't mean an instant death. There is now a block and parry game mechanic that, from the looks of it, is now becoming very popular amongst the other games I've been playing recently. But I'll explain it. You and your opponents have this gauge that one could call your stamina bar, which can limit the number of swings or dodge rolls of a character. The bar can be depleted if attacked or if somebody constantly blocks while being attacked. Once that bar is completely gone, it's open season on that health bar, so the player could expect to be killed or at least take some heavy damage until it regenerates. Now when parrying an enemy is attacked, there's something that I like to call the perfect parry. You can do this by timing your parry perfectly to the enemy right before they attack you. If you do this, it decreases their stamina bar, leaving them open from an attack from you. Before your opponent, the player can perform a move to kill them or knock them unconscious, whichever to your liking, with the option to move or dispose of their bodies. Now, just because this game has combat built into its DNA doesn't necessarily mean that it comes without its limitations. In my honest opinion, one of the main reasons why many people may end up failing missions when they get caught is because of the simple fact that one-on-one, everything is good, but when enemies come up on you and there's about like 2 or 3 of them, your chances of survival grows a little bit slimmer. Now, if you are moving around quietly, be aware of these triangle symbols because it will tell you when or if you're being detected. If you see yellow, it means that they're just there, but behave carelessly and you will see these triangles fill up with red. And once fully red, they're pretty much going to be coming after you. Also, if you get attacked and lose all your health, you start over picking up where you left off of with some of your progression of that stage somewhat intact. But to prevent that from happening, you do have some items that you can utilize. But please keep in mind that you only have like 2 or 3 tries before the mission is deemed a failure. And when that happens, it leaves the player starting the stage all over again from scratch. The type of enemies that you will be coming into contact are of course your normal enemies that walk around looking like a samurai or a ninja. These are the usual goons. Next to these are the armored watchers that's a little bit tough, but normally they just stand in one spot. Next are what I like to call the scouters that investigate the terrain from a high ground. And lastly, the most toughest that you can't kill, who are practically immoral, are your civilian snitches. These people pretty much just alert all the other warriors if they spot you. Now again, the player can choose the stealth way to play, and with the addition of this Batman detective mode, the player can easily know the location of the mission's objective and people are pretty much off. The shadows are still your best friend and the shadow techniques are quite handy, but for the most part the utilization of these skills will just have you zipping around areas quickly. This little gauge shows how much of your shadow powers are being used, and just like the first game, it replenishes once the player hides in the shadows. How you can tell you're hidden is when the player sees the character color palette change to all black. This can be very useful when you're trying to hide from enemies. Since I'm talking about these missions, most if not all will have the player fetching an item, unaliving somebody, or rescuing a person. Initially this sounds fun, but things get rather dull quickly when the player finds themselves revisiting the map layouts a multitude of times to the point where it can be completely memorized by the player. The saving grace is how the items and techniques that you have can increase the fun level of playing. You have projectiles like kunais and abilities to for whatever reason make lampposts explode, and the option of changing your clothes and other cosmetic attributes to your characters via the earning of this game's currency, and also skill points for your techniques. When you accumulate enough skill points, you can take it to one of your companions back at the hub world to acquire more new fun abilities. If you want to speed up the process, the player is offered the option to playing a mission on a harder difficulty. This will help you earn more experience. However, after the first completion, playing the same level again wouldn't offer the same amount of experience as the first completion. And while you're still in the hub world, I recommend talking to the NPCs to better flesh out the world and to explore your surroundings for more goodies. Aragami 2 is enjoyable to play, especially with another person. Oh yeah, didn't I mention that this game has multiplayer? Well, if you think playing by yourself is fun, try having a partner with you. But yeah, as far as the gameplay, yeah, Aragami 2 is fun. The music for Aragami 2 was done by Two Feathers, the very same music composers that were responsible for the first game soundtrack. What they did for the first game is exactly what they did again here. Majority, if not all of the music is heavily influenced by Eastern Asian culture and provides a relaxing and sometimes a bit of an adrenaline-inducing atmosphere depending on the situations a certain type of song is played. Tribal drums and plucking of the string instruments permeates majority of the music compositions on this 26-track OST. But don't just take it from me, you can listen to it for yourself. I'll provide links within the description so you can check it out. One of the highlights of Aragami 2 is the sound design, bringing the natural atmosphere of being outside in the nighttime to making the kill sounds brutal. There's a little bit of voice acting going on, although the characters that speak just makes one sound less than 2 syllables to represent the dialogue you'll read via subtitles. But the clanking of your sword colliding with another and the sound of blood gushing after execution never gets old. Aragami 2 overall is a fun game to play, and is somewhat of a love letter to stealth games like the beloved classic Tenchu. Although the story is a bit paper thin and the levels are repetitive, the controls, freedom, and the fun factor makes up for it, which makes this title way better than the first game. If by chance in the upcoming Assassin's Creed game, you know, the one that takes place in Japan when you play as ninjas, Aragami 2's game mechanics is something that I would probably want to see in that game. During the time of this review, it would be the last title that Lensworks will make before the developer studios will close down for good. Meaning that although the games are still available for purchase, Lensworks would no longer be making any more games. This definitely sucks, but at least these two titles will immortalize their contributions to the gaming community. And for that, thank you. But besides all of this, it'll be awesome for you to check out Aragami 2 for yourself. This title is now available for Steam, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch for like $50. This game is definitely enjoyable and encourages the player to behave and conduct themselves in a well thought out manner. But until next time, be safe out there, and peace y'all.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit up that notification bell, and I gotta go.